Hey everyone, welcome back. So now let's start working on authenticating our app. First of all, inside the root of the project, I'm going to create a new folder, middleware. And inside here, I'm going to create a new file, auth middleware.js. So basically this is going to be a middleware for our protected routes on the backend. So inside this file, we are going to import JWT. So require JSON web token. And from this file, we are going to export a function. So module.exports. So if you have worked previously with Mon projects, you know that inside the middleware, you get these request, response, and next. And inside here, inside try catch. So if there is any error, but I'm going to change the status code here, and we are going to send in unauthorized. So inside the try block, we are going to check if not request.headers.authorization. So we're going to send in authorization headers from the front end. We are again going to just copy this line here. So after this check, we are going to verify the token. So jwt.verify, and the token is going to be inside headers.authorization. So request.headers.authorization. And our secret public key is process.env.jwt secret. And we are going to receive this value inside an object. So const user ID. So we are destructuring out user ID because when we sent out the token from a backend, we set the payload as an object, and inside here there is a property user ID. That's why we are destructuring out this user ID here. So now request.userid is equals to user ID. Basically, we are adding the user ID property on this request object, and then we are going to call the next. So this was all we had to do in this file. And wherever we have to protect the API routes, we are going to use this auth middleware. So now inside this API/auth, I'm going to import this middleware. So const auth middleware is equals to require middleware and auth middleware. And inside here, we're going to create a GET request to send the user details. So router.get on the home route and our auth middleware and our request and response. So first of all, we are going to destructure out our user ID from request. We are going to get it with this auth middleware because on the middleware, we set the request.userid, and here we are destructuring out the user ID from this request object. And now inside try catch block, if there is any error, I'm just going to use the snippet again. And inside the try block, we are going to search for the user. So user is equals to await user model dot find by ID and the user ID. And also I'm going to send in the user's follow stats. So the following and follows information. So it is going to be user follow stats is equals to await follower model dot find one. We are going to find the user with this user ID. And then we are going to send this data back. So return res.status 200.json, and I'm going to set in an object back. So it is going to be user and user follow stats. So now let's check if it works. I'm going to use Postman for this testing. So first of all, let's check if our middleware is working. I have not provided any headers right now. So let's check if it is working or not. I forgot to run my server. And you can see right here, we get this unauthorized. So now let's first of all get a token for this request. So I'm going to make a post request on this route right here. And inside the data, I'm going to send in a user object. And because this is in JSON, you have to create this in such strings. And the first property is going to be email. And our user is janedoe@gmail.com. And the password is going to be 123456. So let's send this and we get the token in the response. So let's copy this token right here. And inside the headers, the key is going to be authorization. And inside the value, we're going to paste this token right here. So now I'm going to make a GET request to the same URL, and let's see. You can see you get the user object and you get the user follow stats. So right now follows and following is empty array, and you can see right here by default password field is not included because we set the select to false on the user model. So now back to VS Code. Inside our app.js, this file is going to be for our authentication. We are going to have a common state inside this file and we are going to pass it inside all the components. So here I'm going to import Axios to make the request to the backend. And we are going to import some things from Nookies package. So basically this Nookies package is specially built for Next.js to retrieve cookies from server side. So parse cookies and destroy cookie. And also we are going to need our base URL to make the request to the backend, utils and base URL. And also we are going to create a function inside our auth user file, utils and auth user. We are going to name it redirect user. So now inside our get initial props, first of all, we are going to check if there is a token. So first of all, we're going to destructure it out, parse cookies, and this parse cookies package needs the parameter context. So we're going to pass in this context right here, and it will automatically parse out the cookies for us inside an object. So we're going to receive the token, and this token we are receiving it because inside when we are setting the token, we are setting the values name, token's name to token, these strings right here. So whatever you name it right here, you're going to receive it here. So after this, I'm going to create a variable protected routes, and it is going to be context.pathname is equals to empty strings. So in the last video, I showed you the properties you received on the context. You receive a property pathname. This is the same as the router.pathname. So if there is an home page, we are going to check for that. And as the app progresses, we are going to add more routes inside this context protected routes variable. So if no token, so this means that user is not there, user is not logged in. So if no token, protected routes, and if the user is trying to access protected routes, and we are going to redirect the user. So this redirect user is going to receive context and the path name which we are going to redirect to. So I'm going to redirect to the login page and else, and I'm going to move this component of get initial props request inside this else block. And after this, we are going to make a try catch. And if there is any error, we are going to destroy the cookie. And it is again going to receive the context and also the name of the cookie you want to destroy. So it is going to be token. And then we are going to redirect the user again. And again, we are going to pass in the context and the path name. So inside the try block, we are going to make the request await axios.get inside template strings, base URL, /API/auth. And inside the second argument, we are going to pass in the headers. It is going to be authorization and the token. So as I showed you, you receive an object from the backend, this with the user and user follow stats. So here I'm going to destructure it out is equals to res.data. It is going to be user and user follow stats. So now we are going to check if the user is trying to access the sign up and login route. We are not going to allow that because the user is logged in. So if user not protected routes and redirect user context and /. So if user and not protected routes, that means that other than the routes than this home page. So we are going to redirect the user back to the home page. And after this, we are going to set the page props dot user. That is going to be equals to user, and page props dot user follow stats is equals to user follow stats. So I'm going to explain to you once again how it is going to work. I'm just going to add a comment here to reformat it. First of all, we are going to parse out the token, and then we are creating a variable protected routes. So the context has a property path name, And if there is no token, that means the user is not logged in. So if the user is trying to access protected routes, we are not going to allow that and redirect the user back to the login page right here. Else, if token is there, we are going to wait for the get initial props, which I showed you in the last video how it is going to work. And then inside try catch block, we are making a get request to the backend to get the user information who is logged in. And we are going to receive user and user follow stats because from our backend, we are sending an object with these properties right here. And I showed you in the Postman too. Then we are checking if user is there. That means the user is logged in. And not protected routes means that the user is trying to access the routes other than the home page right here. This right here. For now, it is going to be sign up and login. So we are not going to allow the user to go back to the sign up and login page if he is logged in. And we are going to redirect the user to the home page. And then the page props which we created in the last video, we are adding a user property on that. And we are setting it equals to user. And user follow stats is equal to user follow stats right here. And because we are spreading it out, we are automatically going to receive it inside all of the pages right here. If you weren't spreading it, you would have to pass it like this, page props dot user. But now because we are spreading the page props, we are automatically going to receive it. So now let's create this redirect user function inside auth user. Let's create this right here. So export const redirect user. We are going to receive the context and the location, the strings which we are going to redirect the user to. So here we are going to check if context dot request, the property I showed you in the last video, it is the HTTP request object. So if context dot request, that means the user is on server side. So we are going to type context dot res dot write head, and the code is going to be 302, and the second argument is going to be location, and we are going to set it equals to location. So make sure the key is the capital L and the location we are setting it right here. And after this, context dot res dot end. And else, if the user is on client side, we are going to push the user to the location. So location. So I'm going to explain it again. If context or request means that the user is on server side, the request you only receive when you are on the server side. It is basically HTTP request object. Then we are setting the location on the server side to the location we are passing inside this function right here. Else, that means the user is on client side. And then we are going to push the user to the location we are passing. And on the home page, I am going to remove these posts right here. And let's change it back to home page. We are going to receive the user and user follow stats. So I'm going to log it here. Inside an object, user and user follow stats. So let's see if it works. I'm going to open the browser. And let's log in with our user, janedoe@gmail.com. And we are redirected to the home page. And let's see the console. And you see right here, we get the user and the user follow stats. And we are going to have this information on all the pages right here, which are protected routes, because we are only making this get request when we have the token in our local storage. So now if I remove the token right here from the storage and let's refresh, and you can see we are automatically redirected to the login page. And if I try to access the home page again, we are automatically redirected to the login page. So I will see you in the next video.